hear us, can confirm, nothing like it. Just check. Yeah, guys, are you able to hear us? Hear me? I can get a go ahead from you in the chat box saying that you're able to hear, see, then we're ready to go. Yeah, thanks, Pratap. Right, super. You guys are able to see us? Pratap? Someone giving a thumbs up saying that audio, video good. Thanks, comrade Datlo. Good evening, everyone. Today's session, we have a guest speaker with us. We have Ms Upashana. She is from GMAC. Quickly read out what she does in GMAC. She's a marketing manager for South Asia. She's responsible for planning and delivery of all candidate outreach. Right? Anyone who's a test taker, reaching out to them, telling them the benefits of taking the GMAT and addressing any doubts that they may have in terms of GMAC and about what business schools accept the GMAT score and everything. She's the person who does that. She goes to colleges, she meets students in all electronic and physical forums. She visits colleges, forums to get these doubts addressed. She's also a relationship manager for the test prep companies such as us. So we have Upashana here. Good evening, Upashana. Welcome, and could say hi to the
Hi,
people.
everyone. Hi, Bhaskar. Thank you for inviting me today. It's a pleasure being here, and I'm very excited.
Super. As things kind of get warmed up in the chat window, we'll get started with some questions that people have asked us in other social media platform, knowing that this session is going to happen. So I would be their spokesperson and ask you the question and take answers from you on this.
Great. Right. Fantastic.
First thing that most of us, one of the questions that quite frequently in different forms appeared in these social media forums is like, what are the top Indian business schools that accept the GMAT? Is a test recognized by the government of India? That's one other thing which kind of came in as a question. Is it an accepted test by the government of India? So if you could kind of give us some insights into it, that'll be wonderful.
Yeah, thank you, Bhaskar. The thing is that that's a good news that GMAT exam is accepted in more than 200 schools in India. Some of the top names that I can say, not in the order, means it's not in the order of ranking, but however, there's SP Jain, there's Indian School of Business. A recent addition is MDI Gurgaon. Then there's GLIM, which is Great Lake Institute of Management. There's IMT Ghaziabad, IMI. So these are some of the top names, and there are more than 200, as I said. And another thing, a lot of people don't know that even IIM accept GMAT score in their executive programs. And as you said, that the second part of the question, that is it a part of a government body? This is All India AICTE, which stands for All India Council of Technical Education, where all the PGDM courses come. So any PGDM course that comes under AICTE, they accept GMAT score, because GMAT is one of their 6 ratified exams. The other 5 is CAT, MAT, ZAT, ATMA, and CMAT, and GMAT is the 6th one. So unlike any other international exam, if you give GMAT, you can actually study abroad as well as in India. So I hope that clears. And if you need an extended list of schools which accept GMAT score, you can visit mba.com. We have the entire Indian school list, and you can venture there, you can see the admission process, and definitely you can apply in any all of them.
Okay. So if it's a PGDM program, then if the school chooses to, the government has kind of given them the permission to accept the GMAT scores.
Yes.
That's essentially what it.
Any of the PGDM courses that comes under AICTE accepts the GMAT scores.
Okay. Super. So a lot of freshers, as in the programs that you mentioned, SP Jain, AMDI, Great Lakes, these are all programs which even freshers can apply, right? It's not just people with experience. In the case of the IIMs, the PGPX programs require experience. But to join an AMDI, to join a Xavier Institute of Management, to join SP Jain, Great Lakes, these are programs where students fresh out of college can apply, right? And through the GMAT, they can do that.
Yes, so not all programs actually accepts freshers, but there are different kind of course, which is also called a deferred program. ISB has YLP, which is Young Leaders Program, which is a student from the pre-final year or a final year can apply for this. So what happens that you apply for the course, when you are in your pre-final or final year, you go through the entire application process and they will select you and save the seat for you. The same goes with international schools also, like Harvard Business School, there is Yale. So there are a lot of programs that are available which accepts these students before they actually get into their work means life. So once you finish your graduation, they give you like 21 months or 24 months of time to get some work experience in between, and their seat will be saved. So this is some kind of a program that they can actually look for if they do not have any work experience. I understand a lot of Indian students wants to finish their study and then go for work. That is something that is very common because they want to finish everything and then focus on work particularly. And if they want to do that, there is another thing that if they want to study abroad, there are a lot of other courses apart from MBA. There's MIM programs, which I can
Okay.
say that Masters in Management, which is a base normal graduate degree, which gives you specialization in business, like masters in finance, masters in business, masters in math, so something like that. So this actually started in Europe as a course, and now is slowly, gradually gaining momentum and going to the other countries also. So that is something that they can do, and it gives the best part is that doesn't require any work experience. So you can apply without any, and many of the institutes actually want to hire student who doesn't have experience or minimum 1 or 2 years of experience. And big company like EY, Boston Consultancy, all these people hire these people. These are like, they start not like the MBA program where they're going to management courses, but entry level or course positions are filled by these people, and they good packages because they are having management experience and they are exposed to the entire management course.
These programs would be called as MS in management in US, what are called as MIM in Europe. Am I right?
Yeah, something like that. Yes. So the
Okay.
courses name are different, but
Right.
the whole crux of the curriculum is same.
So can we kind of say college students can therefore certainly look at taking GMAT as one of the tests while they're still in college, because that's probably the best time to prepare for the GMAT?
Absolutely, Bhaskar. I think that's a good idea because when you take GMAT exam, you should do it while you are already studying because you're already in the game. So you sometimes it's yes, a lot of working professionals go for a GMAT exam, but then they are slightly apprehensive. But if you want to give GMAT exam, there's no harm in it. GMAT scores are valid for 5 years. So even if you give the GMAT exam now, you can apply after 4 years of your studies, work experience, you still have a score that is valid and happily accepted by all the B schools. So that is something there. And of course, for planning, and if you start studying, preparing for GMAT while you are studying, it becomes a little easier for you. You already brushed up with your quant, you already know about verbal, and you do not need a special attention. Like we know that if we have done a research recently, which actually said that it takes 100 hours spread
Okay.
across 3 months to prepare for GMAT. So for a student that might not be applicable. As I told you, GMAT preparation is absolutely subjective. You are an expert of it. You understand that. It's absolutely subjective. But yes, if you're a student, it makes more sense. And as I said, there are a lot of other programs like YLP program, and there's Harvard 2+2 program, and Yale Young Scholars program. So all these programs are there. So if you are having a good GMAT score, and if you want to apply for all these courses, the options are open for you.
Awesome. This other thing when it comes to GMAT, especially when we look at studying abroad, the first thing that comes to everyone's mind is you go and look at the top 3-4 business schools in the world, and you look at their uh, entire fees for doing the MBA program, the 2-year program. It runs close to easily upward of 150,000 US dollars, give or take 1 crore Indian rupees.
Mm-hmm.
That is kind of most people think, hey, I don't have that kind of money. But the truth is, if you get a good GMAT score, there are a lot of scholarships available, and that could ease this process significantly. So if you can throw some light on what kind of scholarships are available and how a GMAT aids getting scholarship, that would help a lot of students get convinced that you're not going to be spending that 1 crore to do the GMAT. You might end up spending much lesser, and it might actually be a good point in your resume to even get a scholarship.
Yeah, if I dive into the topic of scholarship, yes, GMAT helps you with your along with other academic credentials to secure a scholarship in one of the good universities that you are actually aiming for. And there are a lot of scholarships in Europe that are available which literally gives you almost 50% waiver at a tuition fee. Like Bocconi University in Milan, they have merit awards, which actually includes full tuition waiver up to 14,000 per year if you have a good GMAT score, along with your other academic credentials, of course, because you know that when you look for an MBA application, they have a holistic view. But a strong GMAT score helps a lot. And then there is EDHEC Business School in France is there, and EDHEC also give almost 50%, 40 to 15% tuition waiver if you have an impressive experience, extracurricular activities, and a strong GMAT score. And there is the Jack Welch College of Business in Luxembourg, which have like you get eligible for percentage reduction. Suppose if you are getting around 550 to 600 the GMAT score, you get a 10% off. Then 601 to 650, you get 15% off. Then 650 above, you get 20% off. And on top of this, there are a lot of other scholarships which are merit-based scholarships. So if you have a strong application and a good GMAT score, you automatically get eligible for merit-based scholarship. So they will look at you and they will definitely offer from themselves that, yes, you have a very strong application. We would like to offer this much scholarships to you. So that is something there. Then there's need-based scholarship to given to a certain strata of students who actually meet certain criteria. So if you are thinking about scholarship apart from the university scholarship, there are a lot of scholarships like National Overseas Scholarship, Fulbright Nehru Master Scholarship, Great Scholarship, which is for British Council, then there's Commonwealth Scholarship, then Erasmus Wonder Scholarship, then there is some external scholarship like Stanford Reliance Gurubai Fellowship for Indian students. So if you get a seat in Stanford, you can apply for the scholarship. But yes, you have to meet certain criteria. So I would highly recommend you see all this scholarship, go to their criteria, check if you're eligible for it, and you can definitely apply. MBA is something that, you know, a lot of people actually think that I want to do an MBA, but as you said, the finances keeps a question mark on a lot of people's dreams. But of course, if you have a strong GMAT score plus a strong application, you will definitely be eligible for a lot of scholarship, especially in Europe. And we do have, I can share some links with you here so that you can have an understanding and you can read about the scholarship that are available.
If I'm not sure if it is appropriate to ask, is there a place where you have codified as in like these scholarships that are there that students can easily refer to? Is something like that available somewhere? Is there a PDF or something that you could share with us?
Yes, definitely. I will share a link with you.
Okay.
There's a PDF. So that can actually help you to actually look at the scholarship that are available. Just give me 1 second. I'm just gonna click that link. And even if you cannot click this link, you can always go to mba.com. All these information that I'm talking about right now are available in mba.com. And you can actually, mba.com is not only for, registering for the GMAT exam, but you can also explore. There are a lot of articles, there are a lot of information about MIMs, there are a lot of information about scholarship, informations about university. And if you need some guide about where to go, how to choose your courses, that can also help you with that. So I would definitely recommend go and venture it. And of course, there is Bhaskar, he can also help you there.
The other question, right? Again, you touched upon this point, which I'm going to ask, because this is a question that's been asked in your previous answer itself, but let's just focus on this. When we think about GMAT, at least in the Indian student context, 700 plus is a number which is like kind of deeply etched in our psyche, right? Everyone thinks that 700 plus is a good score, which is what is going to secure me an admit and possibly get me a scholarship, right? What if I don't get a 700? What if the student ends up getting, let's say, 650, 660? Would you like go ahead and take the GMAT again, or are there schools which could still give you an admit and you might even get a scholarship, all other things being good?
See, GMAT, it's a myth that you think that GMAT is an exam of elimination. Unlike other standardized exam or entrance exam, let's say, GMAT is a very inclusive exam. It doesn't have a fail or a pass score. It doesn't have any negative marking. Sometimes what happens that it works on the theory of deduction. If you think logically, it checks your higher order reasoning skills. If you think logically, you can deduct the not probable answer, you will definitely find the most probable answer in that. So even if you do answer all of them, if all of them are not right, there's still a chance that you will get good score. And of course, there is a B school for every GMAT score. So if you score anything under 600 to 700 window, you will get a seat in a good B school. If suppose like London Business School needs around 700 GMAT score, Oxford will need around 690. Then there's INSEAD, which is like, yes, 700 for MBA program, 700, 700. But if you want to go for masters, it requires less than that. It requires maybe 690. Then HEC Paris would require 690. Then there is schools in Germany would require less than 600, like 640. And these European schools are up and coming. They are providing very, very good courses. And if you go to their website, check their placements, it's excellent. You can see that they are having a very, very good packages. They're having very big companies coming and taking students from there for their role profile. So definitely there is a school for every GMAT score. So do not get disheartened if you are getting anything less than 650, or if you're getting somehow 600, there will be a school for you. And you can always venture. Just do not focus in only one country. Try to find out countries, like go to Europe, see Canada, see US. So there will be a lot of universities who actually accept it, and these are good. So do not get, again, I repeat that, do not get disheartened. And of course, as I told, Bhaskar also is saying that, Bhaskar, I'm saying that GMAT score is not something that eliminates you or removes you from, it's not like works like other exams that removes the cream and use that for your admissions. It's nothing like that. It's very inclusive. With a GMAT score you will get admission somewhere or the other. You just need to expand your horizon and do a little research before you actually start applying for it.
Super. Thanks. Especially the names that you mentioned, like HEC, Paris, INSEAD. Those are like the best of the best in the Europe. And if a student with 650 to 700 can aspire to get into the MIM program or even the MBA program, that's valuable information. There's one other thing which happened in the recent past, and thanks to COVID, many of the business schools in the US waived GMAT as a requirement to get admission into the programs. Are they slowly weaning away from that process, or like is it likely to continue for the next admission cycle as well?
Bhaskar, you've actually answered a bit of it by yourself. It's actually slowly going away. So GMAT score or the waiver of GMAT was specifically for the COVID, because there were a lot of students who are not able to take admission. They are postponing their plans to go and study abroad. These were happening because of that. So most of the school considered it just for the COVID. Now they're removing that because they need a standard format to assess a student. Why GMAT was started? GMAT was started because business schools were confused that how to admit a student, because what happened, every country has different scoring order. They cannot assess one student from one country to another country, and MBA classes always requires diversity. They don't want students from one country, one gender, or one background. They need a mix so that everybody learns from everybody. So that is the whole idea of MBA. So what happened when GMAT started, and then they started taking people in. So they started with the GMAT score. Now also, even if you do not accept that, some of these university might say, or these school might say that GMAT score is not longer required, but in lieu of that, they would require you to have a strong essay that why they should not consider the GMAT score, or they might ask you for a proof that yes, you are applying fine, but show me your quant skills or show me your verbal skills. So you have to find out ways to, or they might have their own test. So better to stay, give the GMAT, get it out of the way. Because when you talk about the GMAT, it is just the starting of the application process. When you apply for MBA, not only GMAT, you have to do a lot of things. You have to write an essay, you have to create a strong CV, you have to prepare for the interview. There's so many things that you have to do. There's so many steps. So first of all, start with the GMAT, get it out of the way. Suppose if your scores are not satisfactory by yourself, GMAT, you can give the exam in another 16 days. So if you have to give it again, you have to have that window. So do not go for uncertainties. I think I would highly, highly recommend that if there is a criteria of GMAT and they have like one sentence like there's a GMAT paper, do not go by that. Appear for the GMAT exam, because this university might not be waiving the GMAT for the COVID, and they might ask you 10 other evidence for that. Or if you do not want to go to this B school, if you want to change your plan and go to another B school, then that B school might 100% ask for the GMAT score. So living under uncertainty is something that you should be considering. I recommend personally.
If correct me if what I'm saying is making sense, right? So it's probably a lot easier to take the GMAT and show that as evidence of your academic prowess rather than looking for 10 other things trying to convince people.
Exactly, because many of this, like MIT Sloan will ask for an essay, or some other university might ask for a quant proof. Some other university said, oh, this was just a GMAT, or from this session we are started to take the GMAT score. So these things are there. So there's a lot of uncertainties tagged along with the GMAT waiver.
And this is one other thing which I really believe, as in, I think if you could share your thoughts on this. I think preparing for the GMAT, especially for people who have anything from 3 to 5 years of experience, that entire process kind of oils your process to learn again in a business school environment. This is like the prep to get you started in the business school environment. So in fact, one should look forward to doing the GMAT preparation and take the GMAT so that you are like, it's like the warm-up run before the main run. Is it justified?
Absolutely agreed. Actually, GMAT not only prepares you to get into the B school, but also prepares you for the first year of your B school. Because when you are working, when you are out of touch, or even when you are studying, you might not be doing quant at that point of time. A humanities student might not be doing quant, or might not know the basic concept of maths or data interpretation, which is one of those crucial quality that you need to score well in your B school tenure or curriculum, right? So if you are preparing for GMAT, that brushes up those skills. You will be prepared for the first year of MBA. You will do well in it. So yes, GMAT has these kind. GMAT, as I told you, based on higher order skills. It tests your reasoning skills rather than your other skills. It requires basic math, basic English, but your reasoning skills should be really, really good to understand those things. So it depends on person to person, but you are right. If they prepare, it brushes up, it oils the machine, and they will be well prepared to go and do well in their first year and subsequent year of their MBA.
Super. Just shifting focus to the next question. I do not know if this is a data that's readily available and that you can share. To which geographies do Indian students typically apply to? And like, so one thing it could help people know that, hey, this is where typically all of us think that they go only to the US. Is that how it happens? Or are there pockets which are still, let's say, underrepresented by Indian students that someone could possibly look at applying to those places if they have a not so high GMAT score, and a possibility of getting an admission there is therefore higher? The question has come from that perspective. Student has asked, are there underrepresented countries by Indian students? Where do they typically apply to? And can we look at some geographies of that kind? Is there a data that would be available of that kind? Would you be able to share with us?
Yeah, I will give you an overall idea. Okay, so typically when Indian student, we talk about Indian student, there are popular countries among them. The popular one are like US is there, of course. There is UK, and surprisingly, there's Singapore also. So Singapore University also gets a lot of application. Then we have Canada. So then obviously New York University, Harvard, Wharton, University of Pennsylvania, these are there. Then there's New York University. Then there is other countries like India. India is becoming a popular place where students are sending their scores, like ISB, SPJ, and MBI. These colleges are becoming very popular, and other colleges also. But India is one of the geography which is becoming popular. US is already there. There is Canada. There is Singapore, and a few like Europe like INSEAD or Paris, some of the universities in Paris, and there is Germany, there is UK. What happens? What is the reason for growing European especially is that UK has a graduate route visa, which allows you to stay 2 years after you finish your graduation. Paris also have a set job opportunity with a set salary. You can extend it after you finish it. And even if you don't get a job, you can ask for a 1-year extension based on saying that you're looking for a job. And if you have a promising course like MBA, they will allow that. So that is a scope for you. Then again, in Germany has an aging population. They want talented, skilled, young people in their country. So they are also looking for people like, and they are giving jobs to those people. And of course, we are talented students, right? So yeah, so these students are now becoming very aware of that. So they not only look at US now per se, they go to Canada also, they go to Singapore. They go to all the European countries and of course UK. So some of the geographically, these are some of the popular places that I can say.
Absolutely. The two places which you really talked about are really meaningful to students. One, Germany is like very friendly and open to immigration, especially for highly skilled professionals. So is the case with Canada. As in, like, yeah, while US is the thing that comes to most people's mind when they think about studying abroad, you rightly pointed out about how it works in Paris, how it works in Germany, and like the opportunities in Canada. Thank you so much. I think this would definitely help students
And
diversify where they.
And some of the upcoming countries in Europe is also Netherlands. Then there is Italy, there is Spain. These countries are also up and coming. So they are understanding the value of having foreign students. So they are revamping their courses and they are becoming really popular among the Indians.
True. Like some brilliant schools are there. As in SGA Bocconi in Italy, you have IESE in Spain, you have Erasmus in Netherlands.
Yeah,
Lot
and
of
these students also all these courses also gives you scholarships on GMAT score and other academic credentials. So you can definitely look at it. That's something very up and coming and very hot right at this point in time.
The other next question, just shifting again topic, because the questions are not in an order, so
that's absolutely fine.
Right. One of the students has asked, like, can the student decide which score to send to the schools? I think GRE permits students to decide which scores to send. Is that score selection as a possibility available with the GMAT?
Yes, when you apply, suppose if you're given GMAT exam more than once, you can, how GMAT exam works. So once you finish your exam, you see the unofficial score. After 7 to 10 days, you get the official score. So if you give your exam on a test center, you choose your 5 university before you give the test. If you are giving your exam from home, you choose a university after you give the test. So within both period, when you choose, suppose you have given the exam, you're not happy with the score, you don't want to set your score to anything. Then again, you reappear for the test. And this time you're very happy with the scores and you are sending this time. So the score that you have decided to send, we are only going to send that score, not the other one that you don't want.
Super. So you say that this is the score I want GMAT to send to the school, and that's the one that goes.
Yeah. So after that's as I said, there's a window of 48 hours.
Okay.
When you give the exam online, there's a window from your home enhanced. So there is a window of 48 hours to send the score. If you get the score, you select those 5 universities, you send, and then within that 48 hours, after 8 hours of your request, the scores are sent, and the score that you have requested will be going to the.
Super. Thank you. There's a question which is on the chat. GMAT or GRE, which exam to give for MBA admit? Which is easy? This is from Neeraj Pawar.
In terms of easy, I'm not the right person to say that, of course. But yes, when I talk about GMAT and GRE is basically for those students who haven't decided where they want to study. Students want to study humanities or some other courses. GMAT is specifically designed for GME, which is Graduate Management Education. It is designed for anything that related to business, business specific. So I would definitely recommend that if you are going for, a business master's program, whether it's MIM or whether it's MBA, GMAT is recommended because GMAT is something that is recognized by the business school. It was created by them, and it shows your seriousness and how serious are you to do a business management courses. So of course, in terms of that, I can say, and GMAT is 3 hours and 7 minutes. Exam is shorter than GMAT. I would not say anything. And of course, one more thing is that when you give GMAT exam, suppose you have decided to study abroad, and then some XYZ reason happened, and you couldn't go abroad anymore. You still have the option to study in India. I pointed out earlier that all the PGDM courses under AICTE accepts GMAT score, plus a lot of Indian B schools accepts GMAT score. Do you have the flexibility to study abroad as well as in India if you give the GMAT exam?
Again, right to that question, any idea about what percentage of the admitted students in top business schools will have a GMAT score?
I'm sorry, I do not have that percentage of an idea.
Right. Just sort of it. There's one more question from one Mr. Pratap Mohan. He's saying, which is better? Should I take the online version or the center-based version of the GMAT test?
It absolutely depends on you. In terms of test, there is no difference. the section order, the algorithm, everything is same when it talks about the test center exam or GMAT online. There are certain things that you have to keep in mind. While you are planning for a GMAT online test, you should know that you should have an environment where you could sit alone for 3 hours and 7 minutes and give the exam without any disturbance. You should have a stable internet connection. You should have a working computer. And if you are a working professional, I will highly recommend that you do not use your work computer, because there are certain restrictions in your work computer which might restrict the GMAT exam to launch. So better use your own personal computer. So these are certain things that you have to keep in mind. Your room has to be clean. There should not be any distraction. You cannot use any paper, anything else apart from the whiteboard that you purchase only for the exam, and of course in-print whiteboard. If you go to a test center, everything will be provided. You just go there. They will provide you a booklet. There will be human proctors available right in front of you, whereas in online, it will be on the other side of the screen. So these are some of the physical differences, all about your attitude and how you like to give the exam. If you are a working professional, do not have time to go to the test center, and you think all the above that I have mentioned that is available at your home, please feel free to do the GMAT exam at home. And if you think that you do not have the infrastructure at home that you can sit alone, give the exam in peace, there are a lot of people around, so there's noises, you cannot give the exam properly at home, then definitely I would recommend you to go to test center. And there are certain students who lives in places where test center is not available within 5 kilometer or 10 kilometer radius, and it's very difficult for you to step out of your house and go for the test. So yes, GMAT is designed in such a way, it does not differentiate. Even the university does not differentiate. We uphold the integrity of the exam very, very seriously. Even the B school appreciates that a lot. And they, anywhere you go and ask, any of the B schools will definitely say that we do not differentiate between GMAT online or GMAT at the test center. We just need your score. That's absolutely fine.
So on that note, you made a very valid point saying that unless you have a good environment to take the test, please do not choose the home-based testing. That's a very valid thing. One is in terms of the focus that the student will be able to have in an examination like GMAT, where it is very vital. I'm going to come to more important but kind of non-cerebral things. What if there's a power cut during the online test? What if there is an internet interruption? How does GMAC treat it? Can the student re-log in and start from where he or she left, or what happens? Is the test cancelled? Can you throw some light? Because those would kind of tell students whether they should look at the center-based or the online version.
So when we talk about the power cut or something, GMAT has a system where within 30 seconds, if the power comes back, your exam will start from where it stopped. Okay. So it will start right there from there. But if just in case it goes above 30 seconds, there is a possibility that you might lose your exam. And as you are sitting at home, unfortunately, we will not be able to take the guarantee that you have chosen it yourself, that you should have, because there is a whole checklist that is there before you start the exam. They would definitely ask you to see if your internet connection is above 2 Mbps or not. If you have a wired connection, we highly recommend that use a wired connection. Do not use wireless or Wi-Fi, because that might interrupt your test. Then, of course, we need system specification more than Windows 8. And then in Apple has to be 10.3 above that. So these are some of the basic things that is required. So you have to understand those are very important things. And you think if you are getting compromised on any of the fields, suppose if you have like a house where there are too much of power cut and there is a possibility a system might shut down in between, then I would recommend go to a test center, because there's no point of taking too much of risk. But yes, nowadays we do have a lot of power backup at our home, and if you think that there's no disruption, there's nothing is going to happen within the exam, I would recommend them that you can happily go and easily give the exam from home.
Thank you. Thank you. The question in the chat, which I would like to take, which is from Sakshi Chawla. We're doing the GMAT related questions now, and subsequently we'll do the prep question, guys. How many days before the exam should a student book the exam slot? Is it easy to get one, or should I book some much ahead of time? Should I plan it well ahead?
GMAT is available from 6 months in advance. So if you want to give an exam 6 months later, you can book your seat now. Availability is available round the clock if you want to give online, and there like 7 days a week available at the test center only during the working hours. So if you want to give the exam at night, you might not get a time slot at night at the test center, but online you will get it. So there is no problem with the availability of the GMAT exam. But if you would like to have a deadline for yourself, like some students like me, I work very well on deadlines. So if I have a deadline that I have to perform something in next 2 weeks, I will definitely work very well in that rather than doing it in like I will do it someday. It slows the pace. So yeah. So if you want to give exam, ideally you should start preparing. As I said, that you would, if you are a very busy person, you can spare one more than an hour every day. It would require maximum around 3 months for you to prepare. But some people prepare it in 2 months also. There is a planner in MBA.com which will help you to calendar your progress, how you actually prepare for the exam. And there are a lot of, and as I told you, there are a lot of prep materials. So if you want to know about your preparation, then how much time it will take you and when should you book the test, if you go to MBA.com, there is an official starter kit. Download it. There's practice set 1 and 2, which is free of cost, which are actually GMAT questions, which were used once upon a time in the actual GMAT exam. So without preparation, just give the exam and see where do you stand. If you are score well or if you are weak in any of the areas, then you can understand, because a lot of students does not require training in the courses, but they require training in timing, because GMAT not only requires you to do well in the exam, it also requires to time it well, because it's time-based exam. So you might need help from any of the test prep organizations or someone who can actually help you. Or you think that, oh God, I'm good in verbal, I'm not good in verbal. So that is also something that you might need help in. So it is you to who to decide. It's very subjective. So that's why go to the official starter kit, download it, give the exam, assess your capability, and then book a test. Then you would understand. And then if you need help, you can definitely approach. There are a lot of Bhaskar is also there. So there's Bhaskar can back me up if you want. So there are a lot of test prep organization in India. We can actually help you, or there you can do it yourself also. We have a lot of prep material in MBA.com. You can go and buy them and venture it yourself. So it's up to you, and you are the best judge of your own, capacity and caliber. And so I'm sure once you do that, you do your research, you can do well in your MBA job.
Just add to Shakshi's follow-up question. Yes, you could possibly get a slot within a week, right? But you got to keep in mind that there
within
are
24 hours. Yeah,
yes,
within 24 hours.
The test center based thing, sometimes you might find that the slots are booked during the peak examination window, which is like, say, June, July to November, which is when most people tend to take the GMAT to catch application timelines. You might find that you're not able to get a slot in a week's window. Sometimes it could happen. But again, to give an example, we are in Chennai. So if you're in Chennai, Bangalore, Vellore, VIT has a center. Trichy, NIT has a center. Coimbatore has a center. So in about 6 to 8 hours driving time, you would find a test slot within a week. If you, for example, VIT from Chennai is just 2.5 hours, 3 hours drive. Same goes for Bangalore. It's about 5 hours drive. So Bangalore has got 2 centers. You will get a slot.
So this is the thing. Yeah, if I can dive into center availability, there right now, as I'm talking to you, it's a very dynamic list. Right now, there are 22 centers which are highly active. You'll get a lot of slots. They're all over the India I'm talking about. There are some on-campus centers, which if you are studying in any of the on-campus center, you can just get up and give the exam there. And of course, there are centers who are managed by PSN itself. So yes, if you are looking for a test center, you are right, Bhaskar, that during the peak time, like when the application process starts around June to July, you might have slightly difficulty finding a slot at a test center. And if you have that, you already have the option of online. So if you think that you can give the exam online, you can do that as well. There is an availability, and you are right that if you want to give the exam, if not the nearest test center, you can travel 10 kilometers or 12 kilometers, find another test. So that is there. And there is a link in our MBA.com where you can actually continuously check how many centers around your vicinity is available. So as per that, book your slot and you can definitely give the exam. And as I told you, the seats are open 6 months in advance. So from 6 months to 24 hours, you're open to book any slots.
The 2 questions again, I think they're kind of related. So I'll take both. One, it says that what if something goes wrong online? Will my test score be cancelled? And there's a question by one Mr. Singara Ganesh. He says, how many times can one give the GMAT? So if you can say that, how many times can one take the GMAT in a year in lifetime? And if something goes wrong online, does that get counted towards this limit that one has?
Yes, if it goes wrong, your test gets cancelled, you get a power cut, you cannot turn your scores, it will be counted as one.
It is counted as an attempt.
Yes, it will count. It doesn't, because you have given the exam, you have cancelled the score. That it will be considered as cancelled score, but it is an attempt. Around the attempt, you can give 5 times in a calendar year. That is 12 months window. You can give it for 5 times, and into entire lifetime, you can give it for 8 times. So that is the maximum limit for GMAT.
Okay. I think any serious test taker should not want to take so many attempts. It's an adequate number of attempts to do justice to the GMAT. I'll take the question from Shrikant. Shrikant is the second question. The first one, Shrikant, I'll answer that with some numbers. I do not know if Upashana would want to answer that. So I'm taking your first question. 14 years of experience in IT sector, in telecom, what is the ideal GMAT score should I target for the top 5 Indian business schools, right? The IIM, AB, C, L, PGPX programs, the ISB, right? For these scores with 14 years of experience, I would think something of the order of 690 plus is a good score to target, right? 2 things. One, you position yourself as someone saying that, hey, I've got 14 years of experience, so I've lost touch with education for a long time. The 690 is proof of concept that when I put my mind to getting back to study, right, I'm able to do that. So I can manage the rigors of what an IMA or B would expect out of me during the program. So have a 690 plus, that should definitely open doors. From the GMAT perspective, that should be adequate is what I think. The second question, the follow-up that you have that I would like Upashana's help. I'll be moving to Toronto soon this August. Is giving GMAT exam in the center or online while I reside in Toronto a good idea? What would be your suggestion is what he's asking for Canada.
See, that is up to you. As I mentioned, that if you have the adequate infrastructure at home, you can very well give the exam online, because any university in Toronto or Toronto, they will not going to differentiate your score whether given from a test center or online. I think I hope I understood the question. I was not
absolutely. As in, like, what works best? As in, there's no difference between how schools perceive where you took that test. If you think that there's a center close by and you can take it in the center, or if you think that your house is the most comfortable place and that it's available 24/7 at home, so you think that works for you, I think you should choose it. Yeah, it's not going to make a difference.
It is a system, computer system. It's for you, and the whole exam will look the same. The difference only between the online exam and a test center is that for online, you can use a whiteboard, physical whiteboard, which you can purchase from any of the merchant's website, and you get a inbuilt whiteboard to use for your scratch work. When you go to a test center, they will give you a notepad with laminated books which you will use for your scratch work. And the environment. If you are a person who doesn't like to sit at home alone and give the exam, you need an exam environment to be more serious about the exam. It gives you more kick or more focus on the exam. Then go and do the test center. But of course, if you are in Toronto and if you really need, you do not think that you would like to go out and give the exam, then definitely you can opt for online. It's absolutely fine.
Couple of questions we'll look at from people of centers earlier before we dive back to the chat. One of the things is Aadhar is now an accepted form of proof of identity for Indian students, right? Is it equally applicable for both the center-based and the online version, or you still have the passport as a requirement for the center-based?
Yes, if you go to a test center, you would require a passport. Only for the GMAT online test, we have started accepting Aadhar. This was also because during the COVID time, a lot of students has raised concern that I'm not getting time slots to renew my passport. My passport is about to go expired. So what do? I need help and all that. So GMAT thought that why don't you start accepting Aadhar card? But while you're accepting Aadhar card, the main thing you have to remember that it is only for GMAT online, not for the test center. And you should keep 3 things in mind specifically. You should have a backup plan. Even if your passport is expired or about to get expired, keep it as a backup plan. If the proctor somehow, for some reason, is unable to match your identity details with the Aadhar card, he might ask you for a backup document. That is one. Then your name has to match with the name that you registered with. So Aadhar card name and your name that you registered for the GMAT exam has to be similar. Third, your phone number has to be linked with the Aadhar card. many of the times happen that we make the Aadhar card, we use a parent's number or number that I do not use frequently, or it's not my active number. So you have to make sure it's an active number. It's not, it belongs to you, so that the proctor is assured that you are the same person. These three things you have to keep in mind. I would recommend to have a backup plan also. But yes, if you go to a test center, you need a passport.
Super, super. The next question that had come was basically, do schools look at the higher GMAT score or the more recent one? If, for example, a student had sent both the scores to the school, is that a question for
No,
you, or would a school officer be a better place to
I
answer
think a
that?
school representative will be a better person to answer that. I would just say that, as I mentioned earlier, that whichever score you want to send to the school will accept that score. And of course, if you are concerned that it can view your other scores also, that is, you do not have to worry about that. The score that you have chosen, school will only consider that. It will not look to the other scores. We do not want them to consider those scores. And of course, being the student, you will definitely score your best, send your best score. You're not going to send your second best score, right? So school will accept that.
There's one very important, very nice question which has come. Schools are slowly looking at achieving gender parity in the way they admit. So what would be a thing that you would advise women students? Are there schools that you readily have at the top of your mind saying that, hey, they are close to achieving gender parity? These are the schools which are championing that. These are the countries that are championing that. Would you have any advice for?
Yes, of course. We see, as I mentioned in my conversation previously, that MBA do want diversity in their classroom. Many of the schools always say they get male engineers a lot. So they want to break that cycle, and they are doing a lot to get women in their classrooms because they bring a different perspective. So if you are a woman and you want to go to GME or graduate management education, there are a lot of opportunities for you. There are a lot of scholarship specifically for women. Like there's Forte Foundation, there's 36% Club, there's Laidlaw Foundation. These are specifically for women, and these foundations tie up with the universities to fund a student. Like I have shared a document with you. So there's Alba Graduate Business School, there's EdHEC Business School, INSEAD, Frankfurt. All these MBA B schools have a specific scholarships for women. So if you have a strong profile and you are women, you will definitely be eligible for these kind of scholarships. And as I mentioned that, being a woman and being means less represented in the MBA classroom, you will be highly regarded. And they do want women, more and more women in the management role. And a lot of other companies also wants to hire women in their higher management role, in the leadership role. So they are also looking for it. They want to have women managers in their company. So if you are doing an MBA, not only you will get opportunity to study there, but also you have an opportunity to get good jobs after you finish your degree.
There's a question from Abhinav which says that, like, if academic record is not good, can one expect or convert calls with a good GMAT score and good work experience? One of the things is GMAT is a good way to kind of convince the schools that my past academic record, which is not good, is not a real reflection of how well I am equipped to handle the program right now. There could be multiple reasons as to why you did not do well in the past. But if you can have a good GMAT score, it's not a substitute, but it could be a good way to kind of convince the school saying that, hey, this is more recent. I managed to score a 700 here. So I put my head and heart into this preparation and I've got this score. So this is who I am right now. So that extent it is going to help. Schools typically look at a holistic way of a student application. They look at your past academics, your work experience, your extracurricular, your GMAT score, multiple things go into picture. They could use one as not necessarily a substitute to kind of bolster their idea about your candidacy. Am I right in answering it this way, Upashana?
Yes, Bhaskar, I totally agree that, sometimes your graduation marks does not reflect your true potential. And if you are a working professional, the exam that you have given maybe 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 10 years ago, does not reflect what you are right now, because you're working right now. You have earned a lot of experience. You have earned a lot of knowledge by working in a certain field. And after you give the GMAT exam, you actually prove that GMAT, in a way, GMAT helps you to bridge that gap between low score in your academic exams and between the admission process, because good GMAT score also reflect your potential, that you are good at it. If you put, like as Bhaskar said, if you put your head into it, you can do well for exam. So yes, with your as Bhaskar already mentioned, you have a holistic view, you have good work experience, you have good extracurricular activities, you have good GMAT score. B school will consider your application, so you do not have to worry about that. That I have scored less GMAT, a good GMAT score along with the other credential can help you in that.
Just one last point to add to what Upashana said. See, your past is something that you cannot change. You cannot go and correct
Exactly.
your undergraduate score. What is with you is the GMAT. So if you can push and get as high a GMAT score as possible, this could certainly open doors to you. So is there a guarantee? There's no guarantee for anything. But the whole point is you have a 700 plus GMAT score. There will be enough schools which will be convinced about what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. Because GMAT score reflects your current skills. It'll show that you are actually good at good at quant, you're good at verbal. That means you can sustain the MBA course. That, as I've mentioned earlier, GMAT exam actually brushes you for your first year of your MBA. So of course you are proving it yourself. So as I said, it's not guaranteed, but it will give you a very good chance to get it.
Take two more questions. One is from Ritik Rajpurohit. I'm currently in my second semester. Can I write the GMAT without job experience? You could possibly add what might be an appropriate time for a college student to write the GMAT, if you can take that as a rejoinder to this question.
If you're 18 years old, you can get the GMAT exam. So that is no problem. Even if you're not 18-year old, you need your parents' consent and you can get the GMAT exam. So there is no age threshold for you to get the GMAT. Yes, work experience, something that you might need to consider. If you want to do MBA flagship program, a lot of the good colleges require work experience, but there are, as I mentioned earlier, that there are other ways to get into a flagship program like 2+2, deferred programs, there's MIM courses. So if you, and GMAT score is valid for 5 years. So if you give it now in your pre-final, final year, you can apply for YLP if that, or any of the deferred program. If that doesn't work out, your score is still valid for 5 years. Get 2 years of work, 2 to 3 years of work experience and apply for a flagship MBA program. Or if you don't want to do that, go for an MIM program. MIM doesn't require experience. So even if you do not have any work experience, you're still in college, you are very much eligible to get the GMAT exam.
There are programs available, but in terms of telling you about a timeline, you are in your second semester. I'm assuming you're doing a 3-year program. So typically when you should target, if you're looking at the 2+2 programs, for example, the ISB YLP program, the timeline to apply to the program would be about May, June of the pre-final year. So if you're in your 4th semester right now in a 6th semester program, you should be applying to them right now. And they would typically have a window of saying by June or July, you should be submitting your GMAT score, which is when you enter the 5th semester, you should be submitting your GMAT score. You should be applying to them by the end of the 4th semester. So second semester is too early to write the GMAT. Though there is no restriction from the GMAT's perspective, you would want to write the GMAT at a point in time when it is usable, right? If you write the GMAT in the first year, your score is going to lie idle for a while before it can be put to use at all. So push it to somewhere around the 4th semester. Start your prep by, let's say, mid-3rd semester, end 3rd semester. Give 3 months of preparation. Ideally, if you're in your 2nd semester right now, I would advise start your preparation by December of 2022. Take the GMAT sometime around April, May next year. You would be in shape, you would be having all your records in place to apply to the MIM programs, the 2+2 programs, the YLP programs. And there's one more question which had come earlier. What's the best way for someone to reach GMAC? Should a student require help? And the people who realize that their names in the passport is different from the way they took it 2 days before the examination, they want to postpone their examination, or they want to get some resolution for some problems that they might have had during the test. What would you suggest is the best way for them to reach GMAC?
A best way is to write to a customer support. If you face any issues, if you are prepping with someone, you can always reach out to them also. They can help you in that. Plus, if there are multiple email addresses that you can write. If you are facing problem in your prep materials, there is a different email address for that. And then if you are general inquiry, but yes, I would highly recommend that if you face any problem, like you want to change your name 2 days before the exam, that is not an ideal time. You should be doing it a little earlier because turnaround time is a little longer, because we do get a lot of requests from a lot of people all over the world. So it takes some time for us to react on it or answer your queries. But of course, I would recommend that we have customers. Just give me a minute. I will share some email addresses with you so that
Sure.
it can help you to send us emails.
While you do that, I'll take the last question from Pratap. How important is GMAT OG by GMAC? Will questions of similar kind repeat? These are retired GMAT questions, so the same questions will not repeat. But let me tell you, uh, we advise all of our students to do at least one version of the GMAT OG, probably all three. There are three versions. One is the main GMAT OG book, and then you have two reviews, verbal review and the quant review. And there is one book which is called the GMAT Advanced OG. They are the 700 plus questions. So if you are aiming anything 650, I would recommend that you just practice with all of these three books, right? Questions of that kind could appear, not the same one, because these are retired GMAT questions. Uh, I strongly recommend that you do at least one OG, preferably all three, because the time that you invest during the preparation will be paid for in multifold in terms of a higher GMAT score. A 700 to a 720 is a world of difference. 720 to 750 is still a world of difference. And if you can get those 30 points by solving another 300 questions, and if you take you there, it's certainly worth it, right? Think about it. A 700 might probably just land up with you and admit. A 750 plus or a 730 plus could get you even 100% tuition fee waiver. You do the GMAT with an infinite ROI. If what you spend is zero, ROI is obviously infinity. So I think definitely look at solving all three OG versions, or at least the main book. Is that a right advice? I'm
Of
sure it's.
course, Bhaskar, of course, definitely. So yeah, official guide is something that if you need to brush up your skills, suppose you are want to be good in quant and you don't know the basic concepts of quant, OG starts with that. It will tell you the basics things that you need to start with, the concepts that is required to do well in the. It just give you the basic concept. If you have forgotten about algebra or anything that is important in quant, it will, so all the informations are there, so you can practice from scratch. So yes, OG is one of the go-to books, and of course, there after that you can try venture into practice set to have a proper feeling of how exam look like, how you time, how it's computer adaptive, and all. GMAT is a computer adaptive exam, so of course, if you give a right answer, it become a little harder. If you give a wrong answer, it become easier. Harder you gets better you score. So yeah, this is as simple.
Thank you very much, Upashana. It's an hour-long session. You've given wonderful insights. I think it's going to be useful, and people who participated in this live session and all those who are going to watch it at a later time. Thanks a million. Always been very supportive of students' queries and requests and of test prep companies, and the whole team at Wizako. And I personally thank you for taking this time.
Thank you so much, Bhaskar. I am also pasting a GMAT checklist for you. Just
Sure.
go to this link and check what are the things that you require to give a GMAT exam. So yeah, pleasure being here. Thank you, Bhaskar. Loved the question and the enthusiasm of the students. I absolutely loved it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great evening. Take care. Bye, everyone.
Take care. Bye-bye.